defined as a way of learning about natural world through observation and logical reasoning. In other words, science is curiosity and thoughtful action about the world and how it behaves, usually related to things that happen around us. Observation is observing the world using our five senses, which is sight, touch, smell, sound, and taste. Logical reasoning is a logic as you thinking with reason and arguments. In observing the world, science consists of observation, watching and listening, measuring and recording. First, observation. Observation here means in which we are observing the world. We observe the nature behavior of the natural thing happens around us. We are recognizing and noting some facts to gather information about the world. For example, when we are learning about the nature behavior of the world, we can observe the transition of day and night. We can observe the growth of the plant, and we can observe on how the animal lives every day. Second, science consists of watching and listening. We can learn about the world through watch and listen to things that happen around us. Watching and listening can be done through experiment as well throughout the observation process. For example, we watch the bird build its nest, and we listen to the sound produced by the aeroplane. Measuring and recording. We measure and record everything we had seen, heard, and observed. The purpose of measuring and recording is for evidence, proof, and data recording. It can be done from the result gained from experiment. For example, when we observe the transition day and night, from the observation, we measure and recorded that days has 12 hours and night also have 12 hours.
What is science? Science is understanding and being curious about the physical and natural world all around us. We learn new things by observing, asking questions, and experimenting. This is called the scientific process, and we all use it every day, even without knowing it. Observation. Sometimes when we see things around us, like a honeybee flying through the air, we ask ourselves questions. Question. You might ask, how does the honeybee fly? Hypothesis. Maybe the honeybee is being held up by string, or maybe it's using a bee-sized jetpack, or flying a tiny plane. Experiment. By taking some time to watch the bee fly around, we can see that none of these things are true. No string, no jetpack, no plane. First result. When the bee lands, we can see a set of wings on its back. New hypothesis. It probably uses those wings to fly around, much like other bugs and birds do. Teamwork. A friend sees you having fun looking at honeybees and joins in. Now there are two of you. You get to check even more bees than you would by yourself. New experiment. You look closer at the bees on the ground and in the air, and you notice that all the honeybees you see are using their wings to fly. Final result. The honeybee flies by moving all 4 of its wings back and forth really fast. Share the findings. By helping others to understand what we have learned, we can inspire them to think of their own questions to find answers to. Just like that, you have used the scientific process to learn something new about honeybees and the world. This is exactly what scientists do to find out more complicated things. It's why the Wright brothers studied birds to invent the aeroplane, transforming the way that people travel forever. It's how Marie Curie changed the medical world with her twice-winning Nobel Prize work on radiation. It's the process that scientists have used throughout history to create medicine, light bulbs, cars, planes, smartphones, television, space rockets, satellites, computers, and so much more. So the next time you're faced with a fascinating problem, Remember to observe, ask a question, hypothesize, experiment, and share your results.
What is common sense? Common sense is a sound judgment derived from experience rather than study. Common sense is regarded as the same as a knowledge and experience which most people already have. What common sense really means? Common sense consists of our basic logical knowledge, our sound judgment, and our mystical and spiritual belief. Common sense is actually can be our basic logical knowledge. Logical knowledge refers to knowledge as knowledge of law of logic, meaning that we believe that the knowledge is logic to be practiced and applied, and it used in making practical decisions. For example, when you remove the cookie from the stool, it's common sense to then turn off the burner. This is a basic logical knowledge we have in which it is logic for us to turn off the burner after using it. Second, common sense can be our sound judgment. Sound judgment is the capacity to assess situation and to draw conclusion. The sound judgment is based on simple fact or situation without study. It is basically derived from experience. For example, when Ali is sleeping, he goes to sleep. So, from this example, we can see that Ali used his sound judgment to make conclusion on his situation, in which from the simple situation sleeping, he makes conclusion by going to sleep. And from his past experience also, it makes sense that when you are sleeping, you should go to sleep. Without further study or investigation, Ali comes to conclusion and make decision for that situation. In common sense, there are elements of mystic and spiritual beliefs. Spiritual is relating to our deep feelings and beliefs. Mystic is a field of connection to every living thing. For example, a knowledge or thinking that we have in which every abandoned place like empty house or in the forest there are a ghost. No fact to say this is true, but as in our common sense we know that this is true. Even though we do not see and feel the ghost or spirit, but we know because of common sense, which is our logical knowledge, we can feel the presence of spirit sometimes. For example, we are kind suddenly goosebumps when we are in this kind of place. The differences between science and common sense. First, science, the explanation is not biased to anything. Science systematically rules out variables that are possible causes to prove or to clarify the fact or situation. In common sense, the explanation is with bias. Common sense accepting the explanation according to perception and bias. Abu's stomach grows, so Abu assumes he's hungry. and he go buy some food to eat. In science context, Abu might look into possible cause and rules out variable to prove that he should eat when he is hungry. In common sense context, Abu accepts the explanation with bias in which when his stomach grows, he needs to eat because he is hungry. Though in fact the growl sound is actually not because of he is hungry, but still he believes that he needs to eat to stop the growl sound. Second, science more on testing. Science only concerned with things that can be tested and publicly observed. Common sense more on metaphysical. Common sense concerned with metaphysical explanation when observed phenomena. Third, science is structured. Science structured and systematically build theories. For example, from an idea, we make hypothesis. From hypothesis, we make experiment. From the experiment, we gain the result. So from the result, the theories will be developed. Common sense, there is no structure. Common sense use theory and concept but in free way. Common sense no need for testing, replication or verification in reasoning. Last but not least, science in testing the theories and hypotheses is not based on selective ways. Research and tests will be done to against own perception. In common sense, testing the hypothesis based on selective way. Common sense accept the fact or hypothesis based on own perception.